Yeah. So, Sammy, thanks for sitting down with us.
Absolutely.
You come highly recommended by Chris Bush. And so we want to sit down and we're at Chag's right now and we'll get to hear all about that. But why don't you tell us about yourself? How'd you grow up?
So I grew up in the New Orleans area. We lived out in Kenner near the parish line. One of the few houses out there. Great way to grow up. We had where Jefferson Downs was, which is now Treasure Chest, and all that was cattle pastures. We had the bike path along the lake. We had rabbits. They had a few deer. It was not many. They were more up towards the interstate, but it was a great place to grow up. It was a country in the city. We could go behind the house and fish every day.
Yeah, and that's and it's right there.
And it's right there. So we had that. And then my dad had a camp in Lafitte.
There you go.
Which, we had a 100-foot oil barge with a 2-story house on it. And we would duck hunt and fish. And, that probably started the addiction.
Yeah. I bet it
cost me a lot of money, but
yeah, don't we know
but led to a lot of great times.
Yeah. So that's why you went and started working at Chag's. You just wanted to get all your stuff.
Yeah, I met Ray.
Eliminate the middleman.
I met Ray, and we worked well together, and just it worked, and it's still working, and that's a lot of years ago. Ray opened in 1987, and we're in 26. So yeah. You're talking about a long time. I think I started around 90, and we were over on Clearview at the time. We weren't on Veterans, and smaller store, but it worked well for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a conversation before we started recording. The store is kind of iconic. It's like everyone knows Chag's. I think it's one of those places that if you're not in Louisiana, obviously, you have people that come from all over, but in terms of legitimacy, I mean, you look around here, these guys obviously have a passion for it. And then you guys have built up a reputation as being like very, authentic is kind of the general feel that I get. What's the history of Chag's, I guess, from 87 on?
So Ray started in 87. He was a draftsman at Freeport McMoran and, sitting in a cubicle drafting, and decided he wanted to try something different. He had a passion for bass fishing, actually was into bass clubs. He was raised out in the Chef on Rabbit Island. We call him Rabbit Island Ray. But
and I knew that.
Anyway, he grew up fishing out there, and he wanted to try something different. And, started a little store on Kingman Street right over behind Clearview Mall, and grew a little bigger and moved to Clearview, and I entered the picture. And then, as things changed, which Louisiana is very dynamic, that's definitely something I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Nothing stays the same here. So, our traditions do, but the marsh and the habitat changes fast. And so we transitioned into some saltwater, and then, now that's probably an equal or larger part of our fishing business. And then we picked up archery, and that's been a godsend for us because that's a booming business.
Really?
That it's something that we have a niche in, and there's not a lot of other people that do it. And it's certainly a big passion for everybody down here to bow hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can imagine.
And then anytime you see, I mean, especially guys like you, if you Google them and then they come up in Louisiana Sportsman, I mean, it seems like that's kind of the, that's the Bible, is like if Louisiana Sportsman is typically reporting about the stuff that's popular now, they did it 10, 15 years ago, in terms of like some of that articles. Yeah. What year, how old were you when you first started working here?
Like, I'm guessing 18.
18?
Yeah.
Man,
18.
Straight out of school.
Boom, straight into
it. Well, I was in college at Tulane and started playing with this, and then, was thinking of med school, but didn't want to be tied to a beeper, and now I'm tied to this place. But, look, I never it's like any other job. There's days you go, what the heck was I thinking? But for the most part, I never work a day in my life. I come to work every day.
That was going to be my next question.
We have great customers, and you're doing something you love, you're passionate about. That being said, if you want to fish less or hunt less, open a fish and a hunt.
I was going to say that. You probably have to do a little bit less.
You're getting everybody else ready to go.
But at least you're around it and you're talking about it all the time, and you're fully immersed in it.
Who doesn't like to talk about
Who doesn't
fishing?
like? That's why we do this podcast,
Yeah.
Doing it even if we didn't have the podcast. So in terms of, I'm sure you've seen some characters come through here as well.
Oh my God. We were talking about this today, being in business. So I didn't even pull the number. What, 87 to 41 years. I knew we had just passed 40 a while back. Being in business that long, you run into a very sad thing, and that is that your customers start passing away and you're aging out.
Yeah.
You're bringing in new young blood, but you're losing people that were basically like family.
Right.
And I kind of did a little project, and this is just something I'm doing. It's for personal, for us that's sitting here. This that we're sitting here talking at is the iconic back counter of Chag's. And
this is it, huh?
These guys come in here, and, I remember when I first went in the store as a kid, they went in there, it's like Cheers. And they hang out, and, it's like a barbershop.
But it's like a bar. We got the step up here.
Well,
old school camo.
There was a time we had a keg, but that led to problems. So, fights, arguments over fishing spots. Yeah. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but no.
I mean, it sounded like it was still a good idea,
But,
depends on how you look at it.
And so anyway, it's these guys, some of the characters that came through here, I started recording them and just taking little bits of them, because when they're gone, I have that memory, but you can't explain that to some of the younger guys that are working here and all. And, and it's cool to look back and see it. We were telling one of those stories today, but that's been a different thing. A little known fact, and he put it on the air the other day on WWL. Sheriff Lapinto worked for us.
Really?
Yeah. His parents lived behind the store on Clearview, and he would come in, and
that's good contact to have.
Yeah. Joey's a great guy, and probably, the best sheriff we've had here. I was friends with Newell. Harry Lee was like an uncle to me. And, Joey's certainly on par, if not exceeds that. Yeah. And, he's well-deserved.
They do an extraordinary job.
Yes. We, in my opinion, we live in the best protected parish in Louisiana.
I lived in Orleans, and I moved to Jefferson Parish, and absolute night and day.
Yeah. So anyway, just a shout out to Joey. He's a good friend, and certainly helped move us along,
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, not only have the people changed, but the locations, the lakes, in terms of like salinity and some of the fishing spots. I mean, you grew up fishing, if you think about when you first started here, I mean, that was, I'm guessing early 90s or late 90s. Yeah, that was leading up to the World Series, the trout, that 99 through 2000, 2002-ish.
You're fully immersed in it. You're just right into the glory days,
It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard talking to people constantly that fished it well. It's just like, God, what were we missing?
Yeah.
So tell us what we're missing.
And what was crazy is that, it didn't matter where you went. It was great.
Yeah.
That's what everyone says. You can put your thumb up in the air and go.
Well, and again, it's like everything else. I personally like to catch big trout. My fiance and our little boy, he's 10, Hunter. My fiance, Dawn, they love to fish. She actually has caught a way bigger bass than I have. It was in the teens. I got to at least net it.
What?
So,
where at?
This was on a private lake. But
wait a minute. How big?
It was, well, I didn't have a scale. So
we're talking at minimum 13.
Corey that works for me caught an 11.82. So just shy of 12 pounds on the same lake. Yeah. And this fish dwarfed it.
What'd you catch it on?
Actually a 12-inch worm, a Guggen Squad worm.
13-pounder.
And so recently I
Belly boy.
caught my biggest bass on the same lake, which was a 7-pound fish in a 9-pound body.
Oh, wow.
But it was spawned out. So the length was there, but we lost a little on the girth. But
you know,
I'm claiming it. It needed to go on my diet program.
It was 7, maybe 9 pounds. Yeah, around there.
That before. All head, no body.
All head, no body, and it's just that the fish spawn because this lake is so well fed. They look like balloons when they come out of there. But she actually got on the cover of the Sportsman with that fish.
That's awesome.
Which was really cool because she actually had COVID the day the Sportsman came into Chag's, and I brought it home and showed her that she made the cover. And she didn't have a whole lot going for her that day, but that was
one
cool.
of them, huh?
Yeah.
I'd be pretty fired up about that.
Pretty cool. So
That's awesome.
Anyway, the scale was in the other boat, and I immediately went and bought a digital scale after that. You know, I've never been length was always good enough for me, just from a standpoint of if you're going to get a replica made, I tell everybody, it represents your memory of that fish. Nobody gets up there and pulls a tape on it.
Yeah.
If it's within a half inch, if they have something, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's your memory of that fish. I'd rather a nice photograph, truthfully, but, it's just.
The mount looks cool, but I'm with you. The picture that's more of a memory.
Yeah.
If you get a good
even better
picture,
if you got a video.
I have one up there. That was a pretty cool picture. That's on Elmer's Island. Nice. And but back, we'll jump all around tonight. But back to the 90s, the glory days, the golden age, from Venice to Point Lahash to Grand Isle, Elmer's Island, all the Chandeleur Islands. It didn't matter where you went. There were big trout to be caught.
God.
And a lot of them.
Yeah.
But, that's changed. I don't think it's any one factor. It's never one bolt that makes an airplane crash for the most part. It's a lot of, sequential failures of stuff that cause these problems. And it's
a very good way to
kind of what we're dealing with. Yeah. It's never one single, or typically not one single cause that leads to.
I agree with you. It's a number of things, and people like to fixate on one single thing and saying it's just this, or it's just the pogey boats, or it's
the 800-pound gorilla in the room right now is the pogey boats.
Yeah. So, you brought it up, so let's get into it.
We'll dive in there. So, I think all fisheries benefit from some regulation.
Mm-hmm.
It's been proven. I'm a student of history. If you look at history, never in the history of fishing in an open system, talking about not a farm pond. Now, if you have a farm pond or a small lake, you have to take fish out. If not, the pizza gets cut up into too many slices and nobody gets enough to eat and shrinks your fish. But in an open fishery, I don't think regulation has ever hurt the resource.
Yeah.
I just,
I mean, then, to say it could is, that's just silly.
The big argument that we hear now, especially since we've had some of these guests on, is that, we've lost so much habitat. The habitat is what keeps that's where your bait comes from. And that's where, Louisiana is a state in its own, that they have the marsh and the habitat. They've got the mixing of fresh water and salt water, the Mississippi River, obviously, that's the key to all of it, right?
Absolutely.
And then, but at the same time, if you lose the habitat, your only other lever, to use Ty Hibbs' word, the only other lever we can pull is by putting more fish back, and
no doubt. So if you go back, Nathan, I told you I ran into Rudy Hall in here this week, and that's one of the cool things being here. You get to talk to so many people, as y'all do with the podcast. Yeah. And, we were talking about the deltas. So, and we'll come back to the pogey boats. Like I said, we're going to jump around some because you think about everything you want to say on here, but it's a lot. If you go back to historical times, Louisiana, the river has never stayed in one spot. The Mississippi River has moved, and it's swung on a pendulum. And if you look at each ridge, and this comes from a book by a guy named Tidwell, and it's called Paradise Lost, I believe. And Governor Foster made every legislator read this book. He put it on their desk, and it's probably one of the better books that I've read. And it basically, this Condé Nast travel magazine gave this guy an assignment to write about the most un-American place in America. And when I say un-American, I'm not talking about like communist.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the place that has the least American culture. And he settled on Bayou Lafitte.
Interesting.
Because of the French culture.
Yeah.
And so he had this plan to ride a crab boat and a shrimp boat and hitchhike from basically Raceland all the way to the Gulf of Mexico at Belle Pass.
Yeah.
And write about the people he met and the experiences that he had. And so he starts out up at Raceland and he's going down and he gets in with a crabber. And at some point he ends up on that crabber's son's boat. And so they're down around Leeville somewhere and they're coming down Bayou Lafitte there. And as they're coming down, he told this kid, he said, that's pretty crazy. He said, if you look over here, y'all do some crazy things down here in Louisiana. You've got these power poles out in the middle of the bayou, and there's perfectly good land right over there.
Oh, yeah. I know the story.
So the kid says, well, when I was a kid, I played football right there where those power poles are. That was our football field. And he goes, when you were a kid, you're wet behind the ears. You're still a baby. Yeah. And he called Condé Nast. He's like, look, scrap that story. I've got the real story. Yeah. And so he proceeded to talk about everything that went on. And one of the things was he went to Pointe-aux-Chenes and he met this guy, Papoose, and everybody in Louisiana has a nickname, right? But that wasn't his name. His real name's John. But he had a baby named Briar. Well, like I said, everybody comes through Chag's. Yeah. I had a guy come through here from Pointe-aux-Chenes, a kid named Briar. I run the numbers, the age is right. So I asked the dad, he said, I'm Papoose. So how cool is it that I know somebody in this book that, full circle.
That's awesome.
And he said, Tidwell used to come down and visit and he doesn't anymore. But yeah, that was the story. And so in that book, he talks about what I'm getting to, which is that all of these ridges. So if you start at the Chandeleurs was a delta, that's what Rudy was talking about. And that's probably the most recent delta. And then you have the present delta, which is obviously the very most recent. Then if you go each ridge, so you take like Lafitte is a ridge.
Yep.
Lafourche is a ridge. Cocodrie is a ridge. Dularge. As you go west, Vermilion Bay, Atchafalaya, all of those were deltas of the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
And so all that land was built by that. And now all of a sudden we've put it in one spot. And
that's when it started going downhill. Yeah. When we levied the river. But now, of course, you have to do that to protect.
We wouldn't be sitting here having a podcast. Yeah. We'd be blowing bubbles.
Right. Yeah. So that's the problem.
So you can't fix that. Sure. And then the oil fields. That's all pretty common knowledge now. It's been beat to death. And, do we do these sediment diversions? The worst thing you can do is nothing, I think.
100%.
We could sit here and talk about it all day long. At some point, you have to make a plan and go with it. But, just the water diversion did not work in Carnarvon. If you look at, I fish Delacroix a good bit now just because I like the area. Mm-hmm. And anywhere that freshwater was, when it's just water, it grew freshwater vegetation, which can't stand up to a surge.
Yeah.
And then you get, the damage is in the area where the freshwater was.
Right. So you're talking about like all the hyacinth and all that?
Well, no, all the vegetation in the marsh, Spartina grass, which is your salt grass,
gotcha.
That survives, but the stuff that grew there didn't. And that part of Delacroix is just annihilated from Lake Leary to the west and north, and even into Little Lake and all that, And so, but if you go down to Bay Denise, down there towards Venice, it's building land. But that's a natural process. That's not us trying to suck water off the top.
Yeah.
So does Carnarvon have a floodgate?
It has a floodgate across the road and it has a siphon. So it's just siphoning in.
So it's not, but it's okay. I don't know.
So all it's doing is taking the fresh water. It's not really pulling the sediment.
Pulling sediment? Well, yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, there's some sediment in the water, but it's not the same.
So that makes total. That was going to be why there has to be a reason why it's not doing what's happening.
That's the reason.
That's the reason. That makes total sense.
It's not like
why,
it busted a hole in the levee,
why is
right?
it just a freshwater diversion and not just a full on?
You know, again, that was one of the first ones.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying. I give them credit.
How long ago was that?
I'm going to say in the early 90s. It started mid 90s ish.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because a lot of people argue, well, you know, even if with the diversions that there's not enough sediment going down the river. To anyone that says that, I would argue it because you can essentially look at the Corps of Engineers surveys. You know, they do it every day when the river's up high. They have a survey boat and they put it out there because you got to know where you can run these ships. Anyone that needs proof of that, you can see feet being lost overnight, you know, when you have a lot of sediment that's moving down the river. And so I challenge that. I also know that those dredges, like Chris Macaluso said, they can and they do build land, but they're very expensive.
And they can't do it at the rate.
And, you know, I love to cook too.
Well,
I don't only love to fish and hunt. I love to cook. And anything you do that's a shortcut in cooking doesn't yield as good a result. And shortcuts typically don't last as well as doing things the right way.
Yeah.
So I think when you dredge, if you don't put rocks there, that soil has not compacted like a natural process.
Exactly.
And so if you don't protect it, if you look at Texas, they're proactive. They rock everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do that, you're just putting stuff there to wash away again.
Yeah.
But to my point about this, Todd Masson wrote an article years ago, and y'all have probably heard of this article or heard somebody mention it. And the theory that he proposed, or whoever he was talking to proposed, was that we were going to experience a boom in the fishery due to coastal erosion. Because as these larger islands started to break down into smaller islands, you gain surface area, right? Edges, which is what the fish relate to. And it would kind of feed the whole system and make the population. It's like putting more apartment buildings up in an area where you got people looking to rent. More are going to come. And so at some point, which I feel we've turned that corner, you would reach a point where there would be no return and it would be diminishing returns.
Yeah.
And, you know, eventually enough land will wash away that you just don't have that edge.
You reach peak oil, you know, essentially with the marsh. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I mean, I used to work at Cargill, a big grain company, and they said, hey, look, global warming, terrible. Terrible. Going to release a lot of CO2, this, you know, a lot of after effects, but they said it's also going to release all of that frozen tundra that's up in Canada, and we're planning to farm all of it because it's uninhabited. And so you think about it, like it's a similar concept, but at the same time, like, you know, it only works until it works. You know, what happens when now the rest of the U.S. is a desert because we're so arid, you know, because of global warming.
I think, you know, humans as a species have not been very mindful of future consequences.
No.
We live in the here and now, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about what's 50 years down the road because I won't be here. And that's
true. Well, the robots, I'm believing that more and more. So is voice now.
That's not where this podcast is going.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So anyway, then go back to now let's jump back to the pogey. So, you know, any animal, and I'm not a biologist, but I took a decent bit of it. Every animal has the same needs: shelter or habitat, food, and comfort and reproduction.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you take the habitat out, you can't keep taking the same amount of fish you have been. I agree with Ty on that.
Yeah.
And expect to have good results. It's just not going to work. That being said, I understand people like to eat fish. I'm not saying release every fish you catch by any means. I like to eat fish too. Yeah. It's just we're one of the best cultures in the world down here. We have the most beautiful culture in Louisiana, in my opinion. And part of what makes it great is that we are a culture of excesses, right? Mardi Gras, you know, the stuff, you see stuff here that you don't see anywhere else, but it kind of bites us in the butt when it comes to game management because we were raised to shoot and kill everything you saw. That's just how it was.
Right.
And, as a kid, I didn't know any better. That's just what was going on. But you start to get older and you realize that it's bigger than you.
Yeah.
And you had that opportunity. You want somebody else to have it. I want Hunter, my son, to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And if we keep mismanaging stuff like we're prone to do, then he may not.
Yeah.
Here we are. Y'all are talking about, man, I wish I was there in the glory days. Prime example.
Yeah.
It's
something worth, we talk about it a lot. It's something worth protecting. I think people have to know, they may, again, Ty Hibbs talks about this a lot. He said, shifting baseline theory, what does good look like? And for somebody who just first started fishing, they'd be like, man, Louisiana's the best place to fish. And I would still argue that that's the case.
Yeah, we still have probably the most productive fishery anywhere in the country, if not the world. That being said, it could be better.
Yeah. Chad Champagne said it, we talked to him last week. He said, the lake is a tough place to fish, which,
no doubt.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You imagine saying that to somebody in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like,
it'd be like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, tough for who? But nowadays it's very tough.
Well, one of the things that I'm hearing from customers and even I've experienced is you take Black Bay, and I know Stanley Fink went on about how it's dying.
Mm-hmm.
It is to a point, but Delacroix is just changing.
Yeah.
You can't fish Delacroix like you fished it in the 90s because you'll be disappointed. Those areas that you're fishing, if you're trying to fish that spot, the whole program's changed.
Oh, yeah.
So, and like we were talking about before we got on here, Nathan, there's a certain time of year where it's really good, late winter or early spring. And then after that, it gets tough. You're dealing with river water. You got Mardi Gras cut. You got dead oysters everywhere, and the habitats change. But there in particular, and even Grand Island everywhere, a lot of customers are complaining that come in here that you can go catch fish in a spot today and show up tomorrow and there's no fish there.
That sounds like just about everywhere, though.
Why?
Yep.
What changed?
The guy, if I knew.
Because if a fish has bait and a good place to be, why would he leave?
Yeah.
Unless he or she is spawning.
There'd absolutely be a factor that caused them to leave.
Less bait in the water, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, if you go back to, if you look at when we had horrible disasters, Katrina, BP, pick up the trawls, pick up everything. And I'm not saying we need to outlaw shrimp. And look, I ate shrimp for dinner last night. It's fantastic.
Love it.
I'm all about it. Put the trawls out. But, everything just needs to be regulated. The only thing that's not regulated now is the pogey boats.
Yeah.
And follow the money.
Yeah.
And
they just got slapped with some very minor, more on a basic, you're supposed to supposed to be a good person and follow these rules. Were there no rules?
The other side of it is, and again, that's the 800-pound gorilla. Some people have you believe that's the worst thing ever to happen to Louisiana fishing.
It's not, but it's
not a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
And the reason is, and I said this, I said, man, we had those when I was a kid. I'm 54 years old, and there were pogey boats when I was little, and we caught fish.
Yeah.
But at the time, they had menhaden fishing or pogey fishing open all around the United States. Now they don't.
Now they're just pillaging Louisiana.
It's just like having high limits.
And so now you have that coupled with all the land lost to the dam in the river and hurricanes and all that.
So guess
now
where
there's spotlight on them now.
Everybody's coming here.
Yeah.
So now you've quadrupled the pressure.
Yeah.
Of that. And so, go back to deer hunting. If you pick up or squirrel hunting, if you take all the acorns out of the woods, do you think you're going to have squirrels and deer in any amount?
No.
No, they're going to either leave or not survive.
Or die.
Yeah, the people, to me, there's a couple arguments that I just shake my head at. One of them is from the pogey industry of going, well, you must not be that good of a fisherman. And my response to them is always the same. I have never used a spotter plane in my life to find my fish. Number one. No,
But I mean,
cheaters.
I have a friend of mine. He's a customer who flies one of those planes, so I see the other side of it.
Yeah, we're not we don't ever take shots at those.
No, and I'm not telling them to shut it down.
No, they just need to go do it further out. That's really all we're saying.
Not even that. I mean, there needs to be a limit. You have a limit when you go fishing. I have a limit. Yeah. You have a limit. You know, the crabbers have a limit on how many traps they can have. The problem with human beings are always improving things, but sometimes to our detriment. Our technology outpaces the regulations.
Yeah.
So, you know, the gill net was a great example of that at one time. You can build a better device than the regulations allow for. You would never outfish with a rod and reel, you know, with reasonable limits, but all of a sudden you've got something that fishes 24 hours a day. And so that all works into it, I think, you know.
Gill nets are the AI before AI.
And Louisiana's been terrible.
24 hours, baby.
Well, Louisiana's been terrible about making a law and then not wanting to adjust it. If you look at Texas.
Boy, aren't they ever, huh?
Texas will get a freeze, they'll shut it down.
Yeah, Texas is very good about managing.
They're proactive.
They're very proactive, and people from Texas are always all up in our comments that are like, "Oh, we can only keep 3 fish."
Right.
Well, who cares? Most people that want to, you know, for conservation, I don't care what the limit is. I want to catch fish. I'm going to release most of them. I got a freezer full of trout I haven't eaten. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry. But you know,
I think we have
the limit doesn't really matter.
Sorry.
It's like, no, you're good. You're good.
So
yeah, but like Texas, maybe that's why they have so many big trout, and apparently they have an abundance of trout too.
Well, I think some of it's genetics.
Yeah.
You know, Florida and Texas have more genetics for big trout. I think that's some of it. I mean, even in the golden age of Louisiana fishing, we didn't have those, you know, consistent 9 and 10 pounders.
Yeah, well, they were more consistent than they
are now, for sure. And it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter if you go to, you know, Big Lake, like, you know, Sabine, or you go all the way to the Texas border. You can go all the way to north tip of Chandeleur.
Yeah.
And the story kind of plays out the same. So, but I mean, I didn't come on here to whine about how the fishing went down. Let's talk about some of the good stuff.
So going back to that, if you could transport to any period of time, you know, in terms of like your fishing career, where would you go? What would you throw? And what would you be fishing for?
Well, it's a tough question, because if you ask me, my favorite fish to fish for now would be tarpon.
Oh,
but
believe me,
but it's a love-hate relationship. You know, they just won't come around to my way of thinking.
Yeah. Only they're easier to catch.
Yeah. They're
they won't come around to my way of thinking.
No, they're like liberals. They just won't get on my page.
Come on. Don't you see it? Don't you see the bait? It's right in front of you.
Right. But, you know, again, we went on a nice 115-mile boat ride the other day. Oh. It's like, where's Waldo, looking for him. And that day they weren't playing, and, you know.
It's like triple tail times 5, you know.
Yeah.
And then so if it wasn't tarpon,
but
let's say it's tarpon.
Since we're primarily dealing with speckled trout, let's talk speckled trout.
All right, so let's go back to the World Series. When you first got into it, you just walk into heaven, you know, 10-pound trout all day long.
Yeah, he's got a whole...
Let's go back further. Let's go back to me being a little kid. So we fished in Lafitte, and we probably fished like everybody else did. We didn't have a trolling motor. Nobody did. You know, piece of shrimp on a shad rig, very non-technical, throw it out with a boon shad rig cork.
Yeah.
And we'd catch trout, redfish, sheephead, flounder, everything, even bass. Yeah. Of course, they were green trout back then. They went in the ice, but
yeah.
And then as I got older, and of course you're a kid, you're like a tourist. You want to catch redfish. You don't want to catch trout, right? I want something that pulls. And so, as got older, we started fishing more lures, and I remember the sparkle beetle came out. Man, that was a big deal. We were kings then, right? You know, now you catch speckled trout without bait. So, and the tout, we had the tout, the smoky tout, and all of that stuff. You know, mighty mites. There was a mirror lures,
smoke crab. I mean,
yeah, but very basic. And you didn't have to travel very far to find fish.
Yeah.
Which was a good thing because we didn't have the motors that we have now and the electronics.
Braid, all that.
So you get into the 90s and we started fishing Breton Sound. I had a really good friend of mine who passed. He's up there on that thing with all the pictures, that whiteboard up there, and Gene Sutherland and Wally Farge. They brought me out to Breton Island, and Wally had a houseboat out there. He's still fishing out there, by the way. Wally's knocking on his 80s, if not in his 80s, and still going.
I mean, I'm learning that age is it's a mystery. I mean, Harold Wilcox, 79 years old,
Mr. Harold's an inspiration.
Yeah, doing a backflip off of his.
A legend.
Yeah,
no doubt.
He's a pillar of health.
makes Harold's hogwash. Great stuff.
Ezekiel bread.
Great.
They catches big trout.
Great stuff. Yeah, Harold's the man.
He is.
Guy.
He's my North Star. That's where I want to get
to. We started going out there and fishing, and we would fish at night back then. You had a little Honda generator with these lights that you hang from somebody at the power company or whatever, and it had to be a yellow light. That was the color, and it was better than the white one. And so we'd put that out, and you'd net all the little anchovies that came out, and if you caught a ballyhoo, that was a guaranteed 5-6 pounder.
You were in high caught.
Right. And so back then, 5-fish stringer, you had to have 25, 26 pounds to be in the running for the Breton Island Rodeo. It was a big deal.
Yeah. So that's when you're going back?
Well, no, I'm just kind of giving a little history because my point's going to be that it's really tough to choose.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Ricky Campo, he started helping out and running the Chandeleur Islander for guiding out of it for Dennis Good, the old Islander, the original.
Yeah.
And we would go out there and stay, and it was just, it was paradise. But back then, if you came in and told somebody you went to Breton Island, they looked at you like you were Ferdinand Magellan. You went to where? How the hell did you get out there? Never mind, you had a ship channel with channel markers all the way right to it.
Get you right there.
Right, but, people didn't go out there. They didn't have, social media wasn't around.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
You didn't have GPS.
It would feel terrifying. Not having the weather at your fingertips.
Oh, man.
Until you got into the hours.
Yeah, no doubt. Now you've got XM weather. My buddy has XM weather on his boat.
Then you just had to listen to whoever the weatherman on the radio was.
Yeah.
Right.
And then people who smell.
Well, we had Nash Roberts.
Yeah, well, Nash,
he get that magic marker out and straighten it all out for you. He'd lay it down. But, now, despite all the computers, they can't get it right half the time.
Yeah,
so.
Put on back.
Still can't predict Mother Nature.
They're doing all right on Bertha, though. She's kind of doing what they said.
The first I heard of Bertha was today.
Well, I heard about it, and I'm like, I think we're supposed to do a podcast at night. I wonder if we're going to be doing it in hurricane conditions.
Yeah, it's... So speaking of, we're about to have a storm roll through. Are you a believer in the after storm bite?
So I was saying earlier about the Katrina and BP.
Yeah.
After that, the fishing exploded, right? Because you get the pressure off. The other thing that affects fish a lot is pressure. Human pressure.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Besides barometric pressure is big on trout, but let's talk about human pressure.
Yeah, the pressure, it's only increased.
It doesn't matter what animal we're talking about. If you're talking about anything from a squirrel to a grizzly bear, pressure affects it.
100%.
100%. And it modifies the behavior. So if you're making a plan, and most, there's two types of fishermen. There's a guy that goes out there and just goes fishing.
Yeah.
He might go sit on the dock, drink a beer, and drown some dead shrimp. But the people who are technical fishermen, before I go fishing, I have a plan. I have a game plan of where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do. And that might change through the day as I see conditions. You can't be, pig-headed about it. But I think most of us are the same. You have a plan.
Yeah.
And you're going to go work that plan. And part of that plan is that the fish is doing what the fish is supposed to be doing. But now you enter in a jet skier running up and down a shoreline, and that's over with.
Now we're at Seabrook. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that.
Good place.
But we're in Seabrook, and we're not in 20 feet of water.
Yeah, exactly.
So it affects it. And, I fished with Tony Taylor, who owned Louisiana Sportsman and still owns Sportsman Gear. And Tony and his wife, Lori, took us out at Grand Isle, and we ran back up towards Lafitte. And as we rode, and we were a little late getting a start, it was kind of a laid-back fishing trip. Tony's pointing, that point's good, and there's 3 boats on it. That point's good, and there's 4 boats on it. That island's good, and there's 6 boats on it. And we had to run darn near back to Lafitte to get where they didn't have a bunch of boats. And what's happening is Barataria Bay is probably the most eroded estuary we have. And if there were 300 islands out there before, now there's 50.
Yeah.
And so now you've got the same or more people fishing with less islands. So you have less points and less reefs, and, they're pulling rigs up. So the habitat's shrinking. So the pressure is exponential now.
Yeah.
And go back to Breton Island. If you saw a boat out there, you knew who it was probably.
Yeah.
Back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Not like that anymore.
Did.
Well, we talked to Jeremy Walter, W, out in Lake Charles.
I love Jeremy.
Yeah,
he has a sense of humor. He's a character.
He's definitely a character, but he's
small guy, larger than life personality.
Larger than life.
We asked him, so
I know y'all had fun interviewing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then he said, yeah, well, during COVID, or he said, I said, when was the best fishing that in recent memory? He goes, probably May of 2020. I go, okay, peak COVID, when nobody was out there, nobody was really, COVID blew up. Obviously, you guys saw a lot of that, I'm sure, of bait sales and whatnot. But in those early months, people were just kind of figuring it out, like, what are we going to do? And, all that. And then it gave the fish, maybe a month or 2 month head start of going, okay, there's nobody out here. I guess I can let my guard down. And then people went out and whacked. C-Mac went out and whacked him. W said he went out and whacked him.
We crushed them.
Yeah.
Chag and I
didn't
went.
have a boat then.
We went. Chag, his brother, and I went to Point Lahash on a bass trip.
Yeah.
And it was stupid. I mean, we 4 and
I
a half, 5 pound marsh bass.
Man. 4 or 5 pound marsh bass?
Yeah.
That's
and so
footballs.
It's a crazy story. So this is 2020, and I'm going to get to this later. I ended up personally purchasing this lure company. It's the first time I fished this lure.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an underspin lure. And we go out there and start throwing it. We're catching redfish and bass. And I don't know, I think we had 50 or 60 bass and really nice fish.
Awesome.
And it was an incredible day, and didn't see another boat. And, obviously I'm in the sporting goods business, so I want people to fish. It's not that I don't want to see boats out there, but with less area and the internet, and everybody, of course, now everybody's spot oriented. They're sitting there scanning pictures. You can burn a spot if you put it on social media.
You absolutely can.
They're scanning pictures for the background. I'll tell you all a funny story about that. And
you can mislead people too.
Even accidentally, which is a story I'm going to tell. And so,
or on purpose.
Or on purpose. And so, but this was accidental, but it was really, no, it wasn't. I did say, let's go over here and take a picture. But anyway, the spot is important, but the pattern's more important.
100%.
And so everybody, the good fishermen know that, but
fish to the conditions.
And the guys that are looking for your spot, they generally don't catch the fish there.
It's like
Ray and I talk.
Fish the trussels. They ain't gonna go catch them there.
Shag and I talk about this all the time. You can take a point in Delacroix that's got trout and redfish on it at certain tide and this, and I can send you there, Nathan. You're a good fisherman. And if I don't tell you, hey, that point runs out, and it was 100 feet out from there, and you need to stand off at 50 yards, you'd have no idea. You'd pull up, fish the point, and be parked on top of the fish.
Yeah.
So just because you can go to a spot doesn't mean you're going to catch those fish, because the angle, the conditions, and so.
Yeah, it's based on so many factors. And just like you were talking about, it's not one bolt that is going to be, the magic. That's going to fix everything. It's the same thing with conditions. It's angle, it's presentation, it's, water column, it's all those things. I think you have to know how to do all that. I mean, me and Boyce have seen it in Venice, we were smacking them, and they were fishing it from the other side. And I said, come over here. And then they came around and they started catching. And it's like sometimes they wanted a certain way. And
angle is so much more important on speckled trout than people realize.
They're
huge
finicky.
on angle.
Well,
they face in the current, and they want that bait coming to them, and they're an ambush feeder. They're lazy.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah,
it's a lazy fish.
Yeah, they're going to sit where
they're going to sit where they have the advantage, and they just want to. I mean, they're just like us. I want to sit here and have my food brought to the counter.
It seems so simple, but yet.
But we forget. I mean, we're like, and just something as simple as the angle of the tide or the intensity changing will shift that current line, and those fish will move. And you
little
think
nuances will get them. Yeah. You'll think they left it, but no, they're still there.
That's Chris Bush is a master of that stuff.
Either that or like the current will change and you're not getting the presentation in front of them anymore. So you got to change your angle for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of St. Bush, how did you first, how old was Chris when he first walked through the door?
Oh man, young, I believe. And I don't remember exactly when, but you could tell that guy's was a fisherman from day one. His dad, Mr. Charlie, fantastic fisherman. So, he didn't just fall off the apple cart. He was in good company.
He talks about his dad. He credits his dad a lot.
Mr. Charlie's super guy.
Yeah.
I think the world of him, and a hell of a fisherman.
Absolutely.
So to answer your question, we're still going on. So we went to Breton, and that was huge, and started wade fishing and fished Elmer's Island. That was huge. I got a cover of the Sportsman out of Elmer's. Not bragging, but I mean, it was that productive that it got on the radar. And that was a story I was going to tell about the misdirection. My buddy Cabin and I go out there, and I'll never forget this. We kayak across that bay back there because they had closed it. This is later years of Elmer's. They had closed it to driving on the beach.
Yeah.
So it's early. It's early April, and we mid-April, and we kayak across the bay from where Jay Elmer's old camp was. I don't know if you know where that was.
I haven't been,
but it's okay. It's on this corner, and you got about a 3/4 of a mile paddle, half-mile paddle, and you come on the backside of the island and kind of go over the dunes.
Yeah.
And so we go out there, and I'm telling you, the Gulf is just like dead. And so Cabot's like, man, I don't know, did we get here early? And we're fishing, and we're not getting a bite. But I got there about an hour ahead of when I thought the tide would work.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he goes over the dune. He goes, man, I'm thirsty. I'm going to get a Gatorade. And he goes back over the dune, and I'm out there about waist deep, and out the corner of my eye, I see a little lyrebird dip.
Mm-hmm.
And he dipped again. So I just start easing my way over there. I'm not too excited yet. And about that time, the entire Gulf of Mexico explodes with fish. Yeah. So Cabot comes back over the dunes with his sandwich and his Gatorade, and he goes, what the hell? He said it looked like Blue Planet, Seas of Life. The frigate birds diving a bait ball, and I'm in a melee.
Nice.
So it was like 3 to 4 pound trout. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so he starts throwing out, and it ends up being a line of mullet that was probably 500 yards long.
Yeah.
And they were 40 feet wide. If you landed anywhere in that line of mullet with a mirror lure, you had a trout.
Yeah.
And not small trout.
I've seen it before. They do the wave, the crowd wave, you'll see it a lot with dolphins, you'll see, and what I typically do, and I mean, this is kind of common sense, but I try and locate the source of where the wave starts, because that to me is a trout feeding on the outside. I mean, if they're not directly underneath it, like I'll try and I'm looking for that, and typically that's where they're at. They're just kind of, they're like, if you ever seen like marlin and whatnot, kind of circling bait,
balling them up.
Yeah.
Well, they were in these. They were just, it was absolutely incredible. I guess we fished till 3:00. My hands were bleeding. We caught, and usually the bull reds run the trout off, right? Yeah. No, they were mixed in.
Oh, damn.
There was so much bait there that it didn't matter. And so you'd hang them. Every hook on every mirror lure we had was bent straight.
Nice.
And it was so bad that one of the boats, they had some boats that couldn't get on them. They went back to Bridgeside and told Buggy's son-in-law, and he comes over in a mud boat in a gator tail.
Yeah.
And joins in. We're releasing. We got our fish.
Yeah.
And it was pretty amazing. So, those days, that'd be tough not to go back to. And then, of course, Seabrook. And Seabrook, I was telling y'all earlier, that was probably, Well, let me say this, Third Bay and Point Lahash. That was another one.
Yeah.
You could go there and catch trout, redfish, and bass all on a jerk bait. And 3 to 5 pound trout were normal. That was a wintertime fishery. So,
yeah. So,
but
yeah.
Seabrook was cool. You could go fish and be at work for 10 o'clock.
And it's hard for people to get an idea of what Seabrook was like. There's definitely a connotation about what Seabrook is now, which is a lot of people think is a rundown launch, which I think the people that fish it love that stereotype because it's like, stay away. You don't want to stay here.
They broke up the
You
current
got like
flow.
7 launches, you can only use one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome.
But back in the day, I mean, take us back. What's what would a typical Seabrook bite look like when they had when the Mr. Go was open and
when you didn't have all the
salty
road barricades for the shrimp.
Yeah.
It was definitely a shrimp bite. I mean, people fish croakers. But I mean, you had Chink Sumas fishing out there. Have y'all met Chink?
No, but
we've heard of him.
Yeah.
You need to. He was a force to be reckoned with. You had Chink. You had all these people that the Thibodeaux fished out there, who I didn't know, but a bunch of my friends did. There was just so many people that had fished there for years, and it was very crowded, it was different than anywhere else you fish. You'd be right next to somebody and think, oh God, this is going to be horrible. And you would catch fish and they wouldn't, or vice versa. It was a spot oriented deal. You had to be in the spot.
Seabrook's it's still a spot.
So,
and there's nothing really worse than being next to somebody while they're catching fish.
That's where torture if you love to fish.
If it's your friend, it's
oh
torture.
Man, yeah,
it's torture.
So I told you I was going to tell you all this story. So my buddy Brian Epstein, fantastic fisherman, from New Jersey originally, but we kind of corrupted him. He's fallen right into Louisiana life, and we can't, nobody's perfect, but he comes down here, and during the heyday of rodandreel.com, the first basically blog or social media thing. And this is when you had the little bouncing ball and the ding, 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 for your internet.
Yeah.
He was all over rodandreel.com. He had a little dog, Luna, he fished with, and just every day making posts. And he's very well read and very eloquent when he writes. So, people read his stuff, and he was one of the better known guides in Delacroix. And he fished Battledore during its heyday, and black tanks, the wreck, the dope boat, all the spots, 5 wells, all the spots you hear about now, like names that live in infamy, right? But
yeah, the dope boat for sure.
Yeah,
we gotta talk more about the dope boat.
And so he fished all of that area, and he caught some really nice trout. But the single best big trout trip of his life was at Seabrook with me. And so the story is, but he wasn't in my boat. So the story is, we went out there the day before. I went with a couple buddies, and I kind of told you all this earlier, but we had a little dinky Skeeter 15-foot bass boat or whatever, and my buddy's trim was broken, so we're launching at Seabrook, and it was a rundown launch, but we're there.
It is what it is.
And so we troll across, and I had some really good live bait, and I'm a lure fisherman most of the time, but I'm not a purist. And Seabrook, you definitely didn't want to be at the time. And so we pull up over there, we troll across, and we tie up on the corner of what they call the flounder hole, which was a great spot. And we proceed to just demolish the fish. And we had our sushi chef with us. It was my buddy Donnie Favalora, the sushi chef Johnny from Little Tokyo, and myself. And we filled every hole in the boat with trout. We we keep 75 back then, and they're all logs. So we get back, and I call Brian. He lived in Gentilly at the time. I said, hey man, come take a ride by the launch. So he comes down, he's like, look at that. He goes, where'd you catch those? I said, like right over there. Like right over there? I said, yeah, right over there.
Like literally right there.
Like right there. Look right across, Are you going tomorrow? And I'm thinking he's asking me to bring him, right? And I'm like, no, I got to work. I mean, I've been fishing for a couple of days. I actually have to I have to adult a little here. Yeah. So I come to work and I'm talking to Ray. I'm like, man, we slaughtered him, And a couple of my buddies start calling. Hey, you need to go in the morning with us. We're going. Come with us. You killed him today. And I'm like, man, I don't know. Ray's like, go ahead and go. I said, well, I'll be in for 10. So
that's the beauty of Seabrook, baby.
The tide, and most fishermen know this, the tide basically runs an hour later every day, generally, pretty more or less. So I'm like, well, we caught them at 9. So, 8:30, 9, it should be by 9:30 or 10. We should be on them. So we get the bait and we pull up out there, and these two guys I'm with are just a handful. One of them's my little buddy, Bruce, and he's small, but, like a bluegill, small, but aggressive. So hey, we need to go over here. We need to go over here. We're in his boat. And I'm like, look, were you here yesterday? And we're bickering back and forth. Well, I don't know. Brian's sitting right there. And he goes, Sammy told me this place is full of lunatics and idiots, but it's dark, it's.
Yeah. Did he know you were on board?
No, because I told him I wasn't going. So we pull up. So what he did, he called Mike Lane, who owned Rod and Reel. He had a partner named Norman.
Yeah.
And he called Norman, he called Mike, we got to go. I mean, this is the real deal. I saw these fish with my own 2 eyes. Mike's like, I got something to do. So he grabs Norman, Mike's partner, and commandeers Norman's boat because his boat was in Delacroix in a slip. So we pull up and he said, I see the ears sticking out. You got a little big ears. I go, Sammy? And I said, hobo? That's what we call Brian. And he's like, man, I thought you were some of the idiots you were talking about. So he goes, am I in the right spot? And I said, well, I'll give you a hint. I'm over here. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
So I said, no big deal. Look, pull your boat right there. We'll fish between the 2 boats. It'll kind of give us a little cushion. And we proceeded to, I guess it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. We hadn't caught any fish. And he's like, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? I said, there's no reason it shouldn't. And buddy, when that light switch flipped, it was Katie bar the door. I'm talking giants. And every fish is 4.5 plus, and it's just fast as you want to throw it on a sliding cork. So
yeah,
I caught the biggest trout of my life that day, and it was Brian's biggest fish.
Yeah, well,
he said he had several over 7. So, and we'll get to another story about that. And so Norman, the guy whose boat he commandeered, did not catch a fish. And I mean, we're basically cane poling these trout.
Yeah.
And Norman did not catch a fish. He had to sit there and watch.
So why was that? Yeah. What was the deal?
I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes.
But he looked like he swallowed a lemon. He was so pissed off.
I mean, I would have bounced immediately.
It's the angle. It's the angle. Somebody's got that angle.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's in the boat, didn't catch him. Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's tough.
I don't even know.
So you said it was the biggest one you caught. How big was it?
28 inches. I don't.
Nice.
We didn't. Again, I'm Mr. No scale, but
yeah.
I have a nice picture of it. It was very, very exciting.
Nathan's a big trout.
So I'll tell you another story of Seabrook, and then we'll get on to other stuff because, that was then
2-parter, yeah.
But my buddy Hans Corona, and I asked both these guys if I could talk about this because I saw both of them today. I was in the Hell Divers, if y'all know what that is. It's a spearfishing club.
Oh, that's. Yeah, that's
not for us. Yeah. Not for me.
But basically,
terrifying.
Fraternity of lunatics, and you go down there and shoot fish. And
100%.
So we had our rodeo, which is our tournament, and because we are in the Louisiana Councils of Dive Clubs, you have to have a state certified scale to be in that council because all the fish have to be weighed. It's like a star tournament. Everything has to be consistent all the way from Lake Charles to here. And so I was weighing the fish that day. And it's a spearfishing tournament. And my buddy Hans pulls up at where the treasure chest is now. I think it was there. It was a boat at the time. But anyway, it had to sail and all that. He pulls up in his skeeter, and he had 5 fish that I put out of the flounder hole on that corner that I put on that certified scale. He said, hey, do you mind weighing these 5 trout for me? And we talked about it today. They were just shy of 35 pounds, 5 fish.
Yeah.
Say 70.
Now they weren't all carbon copies, so you had
Yeah.
a couple
You
that
had a
were
couple bigger
Come on.
in there.
Yeah.
But, man, huge fish.
huge fish, and
Over 6 apiece.
yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talk about why during those periods. I mean, obviously the salt. The salt
Low
is,
River.
low river salt. Obviously
Devin
bringing in
Denman, he's big on that freshening
legend.
Well, and I was
legend,
going to
yeah.
get
And
into that.
Devin's sharp.
Yeah.
Is a legend. Devin's a big
Yeah.
inspiration for us as anglers.
No
Yeah.
doubt. I think Devin's no doubt a good fisherman, but he's an even better teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen him take a couple of my customers who couldn't catch a cold and turn them into very good trout fishermen.
Yeah.
So, I remember when he came out with his thing, I'm like, this is crazy. People are going to pay him to learn to fish. But if your dad didn't teach you, he offered a way to learn.
One of the most underrated.
And the most easiest, one of the easiest ways to learn.
And he breaks it down so simply that anybody can understand it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's a pioneer to the industry.
I agree.
Yeah, and he didn't have to do that. I mean, he just could have kept whacking trout and doing what he was doing.
No,
but I think
it helped a lot of people out.
Yeah, think about how many people know how to fish now. They understand the patterns. They have a respect for the ecosystem. I'm one of them. He's taught me a lot. He's taught boys, me and boys a lot.
If you listen to Devin, he's got a lot of good points.
Oh yeah,
freshening. That is a huge. And every time someone has any kind of argument on, why was it so good in the 90s, 2000s? Why was it so terrible? And now it's getting. And he points to the freshening, and it started in 2010, 2011, and ended in about 2020. And now we're starting to see the benefits of that low river consistently again. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, and I think, fishermen look for patterns. And I think that's one of the things that, the salt obviously has a lot to do with it, but the bait as well. And so you start to put all those patterns together, and then that's how you find fish. I mean, that's how I found fish a lot of times. And I think a point you made earlier that I kind of want to touch back on is, talking about fishing pressure. You go back to people are on YouTube and whatnot. And we've done it before where we said, hey, go try these spots. There weren't anything secret, but just looking at the conditions, and how those spots laid up, I think it's worth checking out. But one of the things I've found is, looking for your own fish, and Devin's big on that, is find your own fish, because everyone can go hunker down next to a guide or next to somebody else and kind of pot lick off of that. But when you understand fish, not only are you finding them on your own without the pressure, but then those fish might not be pressured at all. And so it might be a lot easier to catch.
Keep a lid on it.
And
when you really get into fishing and you become a student of the game, finding the fish is the fun.
That's the fun
It's like
part.
having a secret that nobody else knows.
That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you go, I mean,
I love
in the fall
exploring.
and winter when they're just biting everywhere, like the bird bite last year on the south shore of the lake, that was awesome.
It was fun.
But it wasn't like you knew you were going to go smack them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really fun.
So that
it
has
took the
changed.
skill out of it.
And let me say this, back then you knew you were going to go whack them. Now you got to hunt a little bit. I'm not saying that's all a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, it gives you a little sense
Putting
of
the puzzle together is fun. Now, that being said, sometimes I'm like, screw this puzzle. I want to go whack them.
Well, yeah, I'm in the camp of, me and boys and all of our friends, we've fished most of Louisiana. I mean, there's still some places I want to hit, but then what I've seen is that wading has reintroduced fishing to me in a whole nother level, because a lot of these boats can't get to where I'm going, or they don't want to get there. They're
Are they too noisy when they're there?
Yeah.
If you told me I could only catch trout one way, and that, not to ask what method wading would be it.
Really?
It's
nice.
Well, remember, I was a spear fisherman, so it's kind of like all of the pleasure, none of the danger.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, oh my God, they got sharks out there. So one other great era of my fishing was a buddy of mine retired from a federal job. It dealt with wildlife, and he had a seaplane, and he would bring another buddy of mine, Flip, and I out to the Chandeleur Islands, and he would bring us almost weekly, and it was amazing. And you just, hey, you want to go fish?
Mm-hmm.
We'll leave here and be at Breton Island in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or at Chandeleur. And so he's a big, tall guy, and it's a funny story. We're out fishing, and we're sitting under the seaplane, eating a sandwich and under the wings because you got shade and, you know, tide had slacked and we're waiting for the tide to flip. And here comes one of these little boats from the overnight boats, little skiffs. And the guys get out and I see them fishing. They're 200 yards away. And all of a sudden I see them all holding their rods up in the air and the water's foaming around them. And I'm like, they just saw a shark. So we're laughing. So Bill goes, well, they were catching fish. I'm going to see what's going on. So he goes over there, big tall guy, you know, and so 6'2", 6'3". So he's over there fishing, and as Flip and I walk up, Flip throws a soft dine out, and when it hits the water, it looked like he threw a cinder block in it, but it's a trout, and we start catching mule trout. We're stringing our trout. We never really kept a lot of trout, and I still don't to this day, but anymore. You know, I just keep what I need to eat, but we're stringing a few trout, and and about this time we had what we wanted. I hear Bill holler, and I turn around, and Jaws is behind him. You know, his tail's tall as he is, and he's moonwalking backwards, kind of with this herky-jerky motion, and this shark has his stringer, and it's dragging him. So I hear him say, they're everywhere, and there comes another one. So Flip and I go over, and we start chumming the sharks because we're done fishing. And so we put a trout in a bag, one of the floating bags, and we put him out there, and we're like Marlin Perkins, you know. I don't know if you know who that is. That's old. That's Mutual of Omaha. It was a show when we were kids. He would go tackle. Well, he wouldn't. He'd get his flunky to go tackle a Cape Buffalo or whatever. I mean, it was crazy. Lasso it. So it was always like trying to dart lions. But we're playing with these sharks, and we named them Chewy and Chopsley. They're about 6-7 feet. And so this one comes in, and I got a great video of him. He comes in right to the bag and noses up. And we hit him with the fishing rod on video. He's 2 feet away. And that was some of the coolest stuff I've ever done, seeing those sharks. I bet
it's cool.
It is. You know, I mean, we already had our fill of trout. I didn't need another trout. So, but,
start playing with the sharks.
You know, if the sharks wanted to bite us, if a shark wanted to bite you every time you got in the water, we'd all get bit. You know, when you go to the beach or whatever, it's,
That's a good
there was only one guy ever attacked in Louisiana that I know of, like, wade fishing, and he comes in here. He's a dentist from Jackson.
Sit with the dentist, man.
Oddly enough, what do you think the name of his boat is?
Shark bite.
The Orca. Like from Jaws. And so he got bumped by a bull shark earlier that day, and he kept wading.
Movie. Yeah.
And he kept wading, and you know, got bumped several times. And I mean,
I got bumped when I was surfing all the time. I mean,
I usually don't go back in the same track though.
I don't want to get bumped by a bull shark.
I think Boyce, he won't say it, but I think he's a little worried about getting in the water with the sharks, which I don't blame him.
I'm not worried about it. It's just it doesn't turn me on.
But that wade fishing
until that thing, you're in the water and it's doing circles around you, and then you know.
But the cool thing we noticed, like they come up on a sandbar. They had deep water there, and they hide in the deep water, and then they pop up. And the minute you make eye contact with them, they turn off. They can sense that, just like somebody looking at you across a room.
Yeah,
they know. And again, if they were out to get us, they'd get everybody, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, I was.
I would wade fish over everything when it comes to speckled trout.
My cousin sent me a message yesterday at work, and he said, my son was catching 18 to 20 inchers under the lights in Fairhope. So I've got work the next morning. So what do you think I did? I drove over to Fairhope, and I went over there. And as I'm getting in the water to wade, they're all in a little rib, and they've got a small little trolling motor. And they said, we do have to let you know one thing. They did see a 6 to 7 foot gator in the water, and it's pitch dark. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Come again? You know, like
And you got kids in it?
No, it's me in the water. But he's in a rib. I mean, the rib's pretty high up, but they're in a boat.
That rib.
I mean, at least you get some notification. I'll be sitting there and just go, you know, get taken down.
We had a joke in the Hell Divers. You know, if you hear your buddy yell, go check on him. If you hear him screaming in fresh water, it's a gator. Time to go the other way.
Yeah, man. You know, yeah.
And it didn't help that gator attack that happened after the hurricane, that last hurricane that we had.
Yeah, up on the North Shore.
Man, that's all I could think about the whole night.
I think
couldn't
I'd
even
be
enjoy
more
it.
concerned with a gator than a shark.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm way more scared of a gator.
We're talking about alligators and all. They, it's just part of being down here. But I was on the beach on Elmer's one morning going surf fishing, and I didn't have my phone. I'm just walking, throwing a topwater in the moonlight. We're out there early. And all of a sudden, I just hear this hiss. And I said, I know that hiss. And I saw something dark on the beach. About a 7-8 foot alligator.
Come on.
Just laying right on the surf.
Yeah,
and they don't do well in salt water.
No.
It had him he was kind of loopy.
Off.
Yeah, he was kind of loopy, but I went and got my phone and took a picture.
Yeah.
That's an uneasy sound. Or when you hear the really loud growl when you're fishing the marsh,
it's always good to be the hunter, not the hunted. Yeah, so in terms of Chags, I mean, you guys are going through some big changes. You want to talk about that?
Yep. So this is, we've been here
41.
Well, we've been here since 92, I think. So
yeah,
I'll be 30.
I was 39. My math
because I'm turning 38.
Yes,
born in 88.
Voice of the Bay.
So
come at me.
Yeah, there you go. it's nighttime. My brain's not working on the math end.
It's all good.
I just know the dates, but so we've been here since 92 on Veterans, and we're going to be moving over to Airline Highway, a new location.
Bigger location,
better parking, bigger location.
Okay.
Going to enable us to do some things that,
maybe an archery.
We have a range, which we have here, but it's going to be wider, a little bit better.
Right.
And, we grew into this. Yeah. Obviously, just like everything else in Louisiana, nothing stays the same.
Yep.
We grew into this building and our business has changed. And,
so it's a need to move.
Yeah, it's laid out. Good. It's laid out wrong.
Yeah.
And that's not why we're moving, but it's going to give us a chance
It's going to open doors.
Yeah, do different stuff.
That's good.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, that's exciting.
Yeah, and then you're like 5 minutes away from me now.
Oh, it's even better.
It's at the top of my street.
It's crazy because we're moving towards Old Metairie, but I was telling this the other day, if I talk to 100 people, 80 of them or 85 of them say, oh, you're moving closer, even people from Luling. And I'm like, but they're like, we don't have to come down I-10 or Metairie.
Just say yes, Sammy.
North Shore.
Yeah. How many old timers do you think are still going to go and try and pull on the door and be like, it's a Mercedes dealership.
They're going to realize
Chags?
Because, it's going to be a Cadillac dealership. Yeah. But shame on them if they can't see that.
Shout out Matt Bowers.
Yeah.
Benson. Not sponsored. Yeah, that'll be exciting. And then how much is the table coming with?
It's got to come with.
I mean,
it's got to come with.
We're going to bring some part of it,
Yeah.
So we may
come off the
redo
wall.
it. Oh, it's on rollers.
Yeah, it's on rollers,
After
baby.
Katrina, we had 6-8 inches of water here.
Yeah.
There's a water line I left on the bathroom.
Yeah, we're hoping it doesn't flood again.
Check that out.
And then in terms of people that you've, who do you consider a legend? Who's like 3? Well, I'll give you 6. I'll give you 3 that are no longer here, and then 3
are these Louisiana guys?
Louisiana guys that were just an unknown legend or a well-known legend, or just like an inspiration to you, or
if you go back, and this is way back, Rudy Greiker.
Okay.
He wrote the book Plugger.
Okay.
Fish Chandeleur.
Yes. Okay. We've had someone else talk about him.
That's a good. Drew is a good friend of mine. Drew,
interesting. Look at that.
Yep. Drew actually bought a little solo skiff from me.
Yep. Nice. Drew's a great guy.
Yeah. Drew's a super guy. They don't come any better, and he's shopped with us over the years.
Yep.
Quite a while. His dad shops with us. So Rudy would be. That's a great read.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm gonna order another copy, and I'll get it to you, Nathan, and then send it to Boyce.
Perfect. And in 3 years, Boyce can read it after I finish.
No, look,
but I want to order another copy of that book I was telling y'all about, because it's been a while, and man, that's something everybody here should read.
There's a couple. I mean, Boyce has talked about it before. Rising Tide, that's another one.
That's another great one.
Rising Tide's a great book.
If you read Rising Tide, so my great grandfather, I believe, so this would be my mother's grandfather, was Dr. Klein.
Really?
From the Galveston hurricane. And then he moved here with, I guess my grandmother was the surviving daughter. of the family, and he and his brother were the first people to predict the river stages.
Interesting.
And
That's
he
awesome.
he retired and opened an antique shop on Royal Street.
Good for him.
So, that book was incredible. Rising Tide.
Another good one, if you live in the area, I mean, The Accidental City, I think is.
I need to check that out.
I need to read that.
It's about the history of New Orleans, and like when they first got here, they were 17 feet deep, which is 50 now. But basically, these, the way they got up the rivers, they would throw an anchor
and pull themselves.
And then pull themselves. I can't imagine doing that for 100 miles.
Another really cool story, and this is something else. So we're all fighting these diversions, or I say we're all. A lot of people are complaining about the diversion, freshening the water, and the sediment diversion and all. I have a lot of people come in. Obviously, being here, fishing store, you get a lot of people. This old guy came in, I guess about 10, 12 years ago. And I don't remember if it was his dad or his grandfather, but he was telling me a story about Bayou Piro in Lafitte. And he was talking about, they had an old wood skiff with a little one-cylinder outboard. And if you went down Bayou Piro, you had to pull on the side to let a boat coming the opposite way pass. It was that small.
Wow. Really?
And they didn't get to saltwater. You couldn't catch a speckled trout till you got to Manila Village, which was actually a village, and the Filipinos were drying shrimp.
Yeah, Josh Adams told us about it out in Barataria Bay.
Yeah. And so, we call it the old Chinese platform. Well, there were Chinese people there. And
that's marked on the standard map.
If you look at people in Lafitte, which I grew up down there, some of them have, Asian characteristics or the Filipino complexion.
Yep.
And that's where that came from.
Yeah.
It wasn't purely French like Bayou Lafourche. So the history
of Louisiana and the marsh is incredible.
All right, Sammy, you got two more guys. You gotta
all right, so Greiger, let me not digress. Greiger, man, you're talking about
a lot of people come in here too.
Yeah, it's very hard to narrow this down, but man, give me a minute. I got to think, because Chink Sumas is probably up there pretty far.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And
give us the overall for people that don't know him. How would, what's his background?
So Chink was a plasterer by trade.
Okay.
And he did a lot of the plaster work in all the old New Orleans houses, which is a dying art. And he would fish. His real name's Alan Sumas, and he fished Seabrook for a long time. In fact, his whole life. And he would go trawl and catch croakers, and he was always on big fish.
Yeah. It was back when we had croakers. Had the croakers. Yeah. And then who's number 3?
And look, there's
100 of them.
People, absolutely. Yeah. Boy, that's tough. You talk about Louisiana fishing legends. And I'm skewing this to trout because it's primarily
all right. Yeah.
What we're talking about. It's so hard to narrow down. I know.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
I'm thinking about, a lot of them are you could look at Dudley. We talked about Dudley.
I kept saying Dudley in my head.
Dudley's a
legend.
He's a legend, no doubt. Yeah, I would think Dudley would be up there. I know it's one of those. I know there's somebody, and it's like I'm sitting here going,
you don't want to not mention them. Yeah.
No, you don't, because there's so many people that deserve mentioning.
It's a hard question to answer.
It is.
And that's a good problem to have, and especially coming from someone like you who sees these people firsthand all the time.
Got to fish with some
of them. You get to fish with some of them. And you were scanning the Rolodex in your head and couldn't find enough. That's how many legends you know. Yeah, that's awesome.
You see people.
That is awesome.
You see people every day. So I'm sure
I got to fish with Jimmy Houston and Roland Martin.
So that is amazing.
Yeah. That was Eddie and I, my buddy Eddie Adams, we grew up watching them on TV like everybody else. and got to go spend a few days down at Woodland Plantation with him at Foster Crapel's place, which is awesome if you've never been. It's, speaking of Louisiana history, that place is crazy historic, but I'll let him tell you about it. And I got to spend a few days with them, and those guys, they were an inspiration. They're not a Louisiana legend, but they are. They're kind of everybody's legend.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think back to being a kid in Alabama and watching Walker's Cay and stuff.
It was I'd love to fish with Flip.
That,
or Jose, those guys.
When I saw a skiff, I didn't really put two and two together, but when a skiff started becoming popular again, especially around this area, I was thinking, I like this and I don't know why. And then I saw, I built my own, and then I saw, when Flip passed away, and it was just like, I was like, of course, I used to watch
for
it.
the industry.
Yeah.
Roland and Jimmy are now, at the time they were 83 and 78, and Roland hung his lure up and dove overboard and got it.
Yeah.
So those guys, it was 110 degree heat index, and we basically had to, like little kids, tell them, guys, it's time to go. They are hardcore.
Yeah, they love it.
They love it. And just, anytime I'm around somebody like that, I try to soak it up.
Yes, soak it in.
Yeah.
Why do you think we started this?
Yeah.
We're literally going to soak it in.
Yeah, that's what, me and boys talk about it a lot, or we had the conversation recently, which is, there's an old saying that experience is a comb that life gives you after you've lost all your hair. And we've been asking people about their combs.
You're not lying.
So, it's hard to, it's easy to, I don't want any of these stories to go away. People think that we might have the best fishery we've ever had. And
well, I could just say this. If I knew in the 90s that would get away from us, I would have taken more pictures, taken more time to appreciate the moment than I did. It's now looking back, it was, a golden age. Was it the golden age? It may get better. I don't want to say we're doomed, in fishing. I don't want to say it's never going to get better, but it was certainly incredible times. And I wish I would have slowed down a little and smelled the roses, like they say, and not just
don't we all
plow
with
through
everything
it,
in life, huh?
Yeah.
You talk about the next generation and preserving it for the next generation. If you could snap your fingers and change three things about Louisiana in terms of an actual fix, to help get us back to that point, what would those three things be?
Well,
he asks good questions.
Yeah, no, these are great questions. I mean, and this is across the board. And I'm going to make them broad, because to get too specific, I would focus on habitat, keeping the habitat we have and creating as much as we can. That's first and foremost. They're pulling up oil rigs left and right. And
would it be nice to leave them things there, huh?
Well, and I understand liability and stuff, but you don't have to pull everyone up and blow it off 3 feet below the mud line or 6 feet.
Yeah.
You can leave something
Just
there.
leave me the shells, man, and a couple of them pilings.
Just try to leave some habitat there. Dredging, we talked about that. That's part of it. Yes, it's a quick fix, but it yields quick results.
Okay.
And so, that, the diversions, you could start a war in any room if you walk in and start that conversation. But like I said, I just feel like we sit here and go, oh man, it's going away. It's going away. Well, yeah, you can keep saying that and it's going to. So habitat would be huge. I'd like to see us be proactive in our response to fisheries. Like I said earlier, I feel like the Wildlife and Fisheries Commission, it's kind of it's political appointees. That's never good.
Yeah.
Look what we've got sitting in Washington right now in Congress. You got a lot of people that were voted in years ago and have just been able to stay there, and that doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
Same idea, same results. I'd like to see us be proactive. Don't wait until a population crashes to go, oh man, we need to slam these limits. had they done that with speckled trout, you wouldn't have to go to 13 inches, or you know what I'm saying? It could have been better managed. But the problem here is we want to commission a study, and then we'll do the study, and you can always ease up, be proactive. That would be the second one.
Habitat, forage.
And then the forage, that goes in with those regulations, but I'm just talking about in general. If you have a freeze, Texas shuts it down. It's easy to leave things the same and say, well, it'll work itself out, but don't be afraid to change. If you try something and it doesn't work, put a sunset on it and let's move.
Yeah.
That's what I say. The diversion, put a sunset on it, put one in, see what it does. I mean, I hate to say this because I love to fish Grand Isle, but Barataria is the most logical because there's nothing there. They really have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I mean, those oyster leases, obviously, that's the contentious part.
That's the biggest factor.
Well, that's the lobby and the money.
Yeah,
and I got friends that are oyster fishermen.
Yeah, and I have family that's oyster fishermen.
At some point, if you don't have any estuary, you don't have any oysters.
Exactly.
So. That's coming at this rate,
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I think those are all.
That's three things that those are three cornerstones that if you don't have habitat, like I said, food, and obviously reasonable management, you have nothing. Everything else doesn't matter.
The habitat's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, yeah.
I was going to touch on my lure. I'm going to go grab it.
Oh, yeah. Go grab it.
Go grab that, and I'll show y'all. It's kind of cool. I don't know how much it applies.
So you designed this lure?
No.
You own the company.
Look at that bass, bro.
Oh, I've been looking at that bass all night, son.
It's just a hook, but I'll go back through what it does. And this is a Kitech tail.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
I'm going to go shopping a little bit before I go.
I told Chris I'm going to send him some to play with. But it's called Lazy Man Hooks.
Okay.
And it's an underspin hook.
I already love the name.
So I didn't come up with this. My buddy Robert did. He's from Sulphur, Louisiana. And this lure is actually really big on Toledo Bend. I'm going to need my glasses for this operation. Really big on Toledo Bend and Rayburn. And they use them for bass. But, anything that works for bass works for snook and redfish. And so I have these out there. But basically you take this and you rig it up like so, and it's a weedless underspin. And so while this is swimming, that's spinning. And what's different about it is the way this is rigged up. The swivel comes straight out of the back of the weight, and the weight is the center of gravity is such that it falls straight down and kind of shimmies.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It kind of swims down like this. It doesn't just nose down. And so the story is my little boy lost one of my last ones. Robert had shut it down. He just had a lot going on, and he was chasing his tail at the scale he was doing it. And anyway, he had shut it down, and my little boy Hunter lost one of my last ones. And I called Robert, hey, man, do you want to sell the molds? And he goes, I'll sell the whole company. And I said, well, let's talk. And so
that's awesome.
The rest is history. So they're going to be, I'm still making a few little changes to this keeper system. It could be better, but everything else about it just flat catches fish.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to get some of these.
Primarily redfish or
redfish, bass, trout. I've caught some trout on it. I have not fished it in big trout areas.
No, I love this stuff, just like the owner underspin.
Yeah, but you don't have that wire that catches weeds.
Right.
So it fishes a lot more weedless.
Yeah.
Which, that's another thing. We lost so much of
our owner's not local, so this is better.
We lost so much of our grass, like Reggio. I love to fish Reggio.
Yeah, the grass is everything.
Well, grass is habitat. It's food. It holds food. It cleans the water. And you go to Reggio now, it's a mud hole.
Yeah,
it's very frustrating. Yeah,
I mean, when you hear people talk about Lake Catherine and the grass that was in there, even on the North Shore. And I mean, you need there's a couple things you need. Obviously you need the sunlight to penetrate down. It's can't be dirty all the time, and
Yes.
you got to have the salinity there. And then there's multiple things that come into play. There's still grass. I feel like has become the new sockeye. People don't talk about it. They find it, and they find that it's holding trout.
Word,
it's
buddy.
like,
yeah.
Nope, I don't know where any of that
if
is.
You hang grass,
Yeah,
you can catch trout there in Delacroix, at least.
yeah.
Anywhere really.
Yeah, it's a special place. I mean, I'm constantly on the grass hunt, especially when I'm fishing beaches and whatnot. So, yeah.
That's more habitat we've lost.
Well, hopefully it gets better. Hopefully people are get involved in the process and then talk about.
I'm an
these
optimist.
things.
I mean,
yeah.
I'll still, I'm not doom and gloom, but
yeah.
Obviously the more people that fish, the better our business does.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
plus it gives us a stronger lobby as recreational fishermen. The more people doing an activity, the more voters that do something, the more politicians pay attention to that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting involved helps out a lot. Understanding, what moves the needles on this kind of stuff is critical because it helps you to understand. I mean, there's limits out there, and then I'm voiced the same way. I have kind of my own personal limits, which is I do it for me. I'm not expecting anyone else to do it, but if you want to keep fish, I want you to keep those fish.
I'm a bit of a snob. I fish enough that, or at least I used to, that I get customers will bring them. I'll get fresh fish.
Yeah.
And it's just Dawn and Hunter and I, and Hunter doesn't really eat much fish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's two of us. So
that's the
two
problem.
fish will feed us.
That's the problem I have.
Sometimes a couple meals if you put a sauce on it or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't need to kill 15 trout. I'll be honest. I'm not really crazy about cleaning 15 trout.
I'm with you, man. The cleaning ain't fun no more, man.
I like, especially when you're in the water, just unhooking them and getting right back out there, Yeah.
They gonna live.
And everybody says, oh, they won't live. Well,
yeah, they gonna live.
You go to Florida and look how they handle fish
yeah.
compared to how we handle fish. I mean,
they're very
respectful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
it's a different.
A lot of people talk about the porpoises and whatnot. I mean,
that's a fact, and I heard Jeremy talking about that, and you're going to lose them. But Rudy had an interesting point. He and I were talking the other day. The ones that the porpoises are eating means they're not eating other ones.
Yeah.
So I don't.
They're gonna the dolphins are gonna eat trout regardless if there's a boat there or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just make it a little easier sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit,
but. Nothing's perfect.
They're easy scapegoats.
I guarantee you one thing.
They're all factors.
You throw them in the ice chest, fillet them, and fry them, they're not swimming.
Oh, no.
Come on, baby. No. You're right about that.
Yeah.
They certainly ain't going to live if you put them in the ice chest.
Correct.
But,
well,
yeah, Sammy, thanks for,
yes, Sammy.
We got a lot of stuff.
Man.
I mean,
my pleasure.
Awesome.
This was fun.
Thank you for having us. We feel this is just as cool for us.
And once you get set up in the new location, we'll definitely come out there. I mean, especially me, because, that's right in my backyard. I'd like to see the whole setup and everything.
We're doing another podcast out there.
We're in.
There we go.
Cool. Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Sammy.
y'all very much.
Absolutely.